There's a reason that it's against policy to fire out of a moving vehicle, and today we're going to get to see why. Hi everyone, welcome to today's badge cam lesson here at Active Self Protection. I'm your host, John Correa.
I'm your co-host, Mike Williver. Today's video comes to us from Los Angeles, California.
Palm pepper spray has recently reformulated for even more effect when you bless the deserving with the hot sauce. Palm is what I use between a harsh word and a gun and encourage everyone to do likewise. This one all begins when the deputy that you see kind of coming into the parking lot is gonna pull in, and you see him here kind of see the white SUV and recognize that the white SUV has no license plates on it, has a male behind the wheel, and the deputy, based on his training and experience, thinks that treachery might be afoot. And you see the lady jump in the car who ends up being the common law wife of the man who was driving. Well, he has his other partner, he radios to another partner who initiates a traffic stop on this guy for driving without a license plate. Well, the guy initially stops, then drives off, then starts shooting at the police out his window. The lady in the car calls 911 and says, "You guys got to stop chasing us, otherwise he said he's going to kill me." Well, that didn't just deter them from chasing them a little bit further. They wrecked the car up, and the guy grabbed the girl as they exited the car and ran off with her and pointed a gun at her head. Officers are going to look for him in the backyard. They're going to find the both of them here pretty quick. We have multiple badge cams. Let's listen in and see what happens.
All right, cover your fucking head! Drop the fucking gun!
What's the address here?
Please don't shoot me!
Denver police, drop the weapon!
One person talk right now. We don't need 18 people talk. He's on the
Hey, I'll talk.
talk. Go ahead. See if you can
Hey, this is the Denver police. I need you, hey, you need to listen. Come out right now with your hands up.
Listen. You guys need to back off and I'll let her go.
Come out right now, sir.
Back off and I'll let her go. Please don't shoot me.
No, we're not backing off. Hey, everybody back up. He's got a gun, yeah? Back up. Back up. Everybody back up. Hey, stop moving. Stop moving right now. Do not move.
You guys back off.
Hey. Back up. Back up. Back up. Get some cover over here. Pull some cars up.
Hey, pull the car up.
Pull the car up.
House locked
Pull the car up. Everybody back up. Back up.
with you, Knight. Let's go.
Come on, back up. Move back. Move back. We need a shield. Somebody's got a shield.
And pull your car up here.
Somebody get a shield. Hey, go around. Hey, sir. Hey, you're not. This is not what you want to be right now. The best thing for you is to come out with your hands up.
Slow, get your hands up! Show me your hands!
Back up. Watch. Right here. Right here. Back up, Shane. Back up, Shane.
Shane, pull back.
Hey, drop your gun right now. This is the best thing for you, dude. I'm telling you. I'm telling you right now, bro. You need to, hey, listen to me, bro.
I'll fucking blast myself too, bro.
Listen to me. Hey.
Ceasefire, ceasefire.
Shots fired, shots fired, shots fired.
You good?
Yeah, I think so.
Let's step up to that gun.
On me. Ready? Yep.
Best thing for you, dude, I'm telling you right now, bro. Who's got the rifle?
Hey, listen to me, bro. I'll fucking blast myself too, bro. Listen to me.
Gun.
Drop your gun right now. This is the best thing for you, dude. I'm telling you. I'm telling you right now, bro. You need to, hey, listen to me, bro.
I'll fucking blast myself too, bro.
Listen to me. Denver 416.
Let's step up, secure that gun.
On me.
Go.
Yep, let's go.
That first shot actually came from the left side. An officer had gotten his M4 and gone over to the fence there. that first shot was pretty effective. A whole bunch of others finished the job. The woman was not harmed in this. No officers were injured as well. They did do their best to give him first aid, but a shot in the head with a 5.56, nope, not gonna do it. Mike, I think people think we're like picking these on purpose. I promise you, I don't program the stuff on the channel. What comes to us, we do them in the order in which we get them. So sometimes we go on streaks of not great outcomes.
Goat rope week. It's like Discovery has Shark Week. We have goat rope month.
So Mike, let's talk about this idea first that like, well, crime is afoot. And the idea says, well, wait a minute, I just want to kind of make sure everybody's okay here, which, I mean, if you're out with nefarious purposes, make sure you got plates on your car, right?
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like if you're gonna do something nefarious, make sure you walk around your car, make sure your brake lights work, make sure your headlights and your blinkers are all working to not attract the attention of the authorities. In this case, missing license plate, there's a better than average chance that car is stolen, or the person operating it is trying to conceal their identity for some reason, some nefarious reason. As you said, perhaps treachery was afoot.
And listen, they continue this chase. The guy starts shooting at him, right? So eventually they try to stop him, whatever. And these idea of chases, we're always kind of balancing the risk to the public versus the value of apprehending somebody who's shooting at the cops. I think so then they probably have good cause to continue here. Now, man, Mike, what a crazy thing. They chase a goblin down a hole. Very different, mission for law enforcement officers here. And this is why I think, man, having a good handheld light that's incredibly bright and a powerful pistol-mounted light are essential tools for law enforcement.
Yeah, if you look at this lighting scenario here, there's really no ambient light at all. So your light needs to do all of the work in this case. And it looks like all of their handheld and weapon-mounted lights are pretty darn bright. Like they're working with some good equipment here. So good job on lighting everything up.
Next thing that I absolutely loved in this one is the officer whose badge cam we are watching right now. I love that he said to his fellow officers, I have comms. So if nobody else steps up and says, hey, I'm gonna be in the lead of communication here, you step up, and I love that because that funnels everything that we're gonna say to our perp through one person, and that prevents confusion.
I can't stress how important this is enough, John. If there's more than one officer or deputy on a scene, you've got to figure out who has comms. Now, there may come a point where you switch that because whoever's doing the talking isn't making that connection they need to make or whatever. But once we've established, okay, Officer Johnson has comms, let him or her have comms, and please don't interject because you think he's not doing a good job or whatever, because what you want to avoid is giving conflicting commands or giving the bad guy any reason to do something that might jeopardize you and or him.
And if you feel like, hey, we need to do this other thing, tell the person who's doing the communicating that, hey, dude, tell him to do this other thing. So then that way it's all funneling through the one. I also might want to talk here, they really slowed their roll. And I want to get your thoughts on that because, sometimes we're like, dude, there's a hostage, you got to go. But I think in this case, they were probably right to kind of slow up.
Yeah, this is definitely a poop sandwich here, John. It's poor lighting conditions. There's this shrubbery or tree or whatever it is blocking the view of the officers. It can't really see what's going on back there. So there's a lot to consider. And just bear in mind, we might speculate this guy, I didn't mean it. He wasn't really going to shoot her. He was just using that as a ruse, as an excuse to.
No way, man. He's been shooting at the cops. Right.
But you have to take him at his word. It's just like when someone does a suicide by cop type of thing. You have to assume they're gonna carry out the things they said they're going to do. He has said, she has said, and he has said he's going to shoot her to get out of this. So basically, until he cooperates, drops a gun, lets her go, whatever. You're right now looking for an opportunity to neutralize him. And the only way to do that is with a firearm.
Now, let's look at this shot that our officer whose badge cam we're on right now has. He's about 16, 17 yards away here. And this is as classic a hostage presentation as I think I've actually ever seen on the channel. And you look at that 15, 16 yards and you've got a very small head, visible there right next to the, an innocent bystander. And I got to tell you, even if you feel like, man, I can do this pretty well on the range, it's a whole different world when somebody's life's at stake.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. At the range, generally speaking, the targets aren't moving. They might edge and face, but that's about it almost always. So now you're dealing with several things. You're dealing with a moving target. You're dealing with a very small target window, as you said, John. You're dealing with an innocent third party that you definitely don't want to shoot. That defeats the purpose of neutralizing him in the first place. You're also dealing with, you're just coming off a foot pursuit. So not only are you amped up, is your adrenaline up and pumping, but your respiration is how you can hear it in their voice. They're a little smoked from this foot pursuit. all of these things come into play. And we talked before we started recording here, John. We were looking at this together, and I'm like, I don't think I would make that shot with a pistol at that range under those circumstances. But it turns out whoever had the AR took care of it.
Yeah, so, again, very difficult shot, but they had an officer at the side, right? So really where that fatal shot came from was the officer via an M4 about 10 feet away. Now, we're going to talk about all these shots that kind of went after that. So they are going to try here at this point to get in here and to give this guy some first aid, because their goal, of course, is not to take life if they possibly can. I mean, I think someone, Mike, who has taken a 5.56 to the noggin, there's not a whole lot you're going to do here.
Yeah, I'm not a trauma surgeon, John, but I just don't know. I'm assuming he caught him in the side of the head or the jaw, around the face, something like that. And that combined with the follow-up shots, I just don't think there's any hope for this guy. I'm sure they probably realize that, but they have to make an attempt, so they made an attempt.
Yeah, and listen, I think, this is part of the trauma of law enforcement, you having to get in there and do that stuff. And so I can't tell officers enough, man, when you've been in one of these kind of incidents, you need to get some therapy. You need to get to some help with this thing. Now, we saw that second angle as well, and from this other officer's perspective, this is another thing that we see pretty regularly, is that he backpedaled, and when he backpedaled, he ended up on his behind. We almost never see officers who are moving forward or strafing. Moving laterally almost never causes somebody to fall. But backing up, it's like clockwork, Mike.
This is one of those things that I don't think it's trained enough. I think this should be something where, whether you're doing like a sim gun thing or blue guns or whatever, a mat room, on the range, whatever the case might be, let's start getting out there and practicing maneuvering with a gun in your hand, because it's not a natural thing to do, to move right, left, backwards, especially with a loaded gun. And it's something we need to maybe, I think, emphasize more in training, so that the first time you do it isn't during a shooting in the field with a loaded gun in your hand.
And I really think this is a great thing to do with a blue gun, exactly like you said, right? In full uniform with all of your equipment on you. Right. Cool, let's back up. Let's just work on getting back. And when do we get kind of that old adage of ass over tea kettle? And keeping us from having these problems when they show up on the street. Now, again, I'm not faulting the officer. He felt the need to back up. Thank God he had plenty of cover, right? It's not like there was any lack of people that were taking care of the problem for him. Now, on this third one here, I want to talk, there's a couple of things in particular that I think we really kind of want to think about here, is that this officer is, again, he doesn't have a good shot himself in this particular case. Now this first shot breaks, and he decides he wants to get in there too, but you got to give priority of fire. And oh boy, man, if you look here, he's got his gun aimed at the perp, and that's good and safe, but just to his left is an officer in front of him. And sometimes the right answer is to give them priority of fire and hold yourself.
Absolutely. And this is another training thing. I'm not saying Denver hasn't trained their officers well. I'm sure they have. But this is another thing that, especially small units. So if you're in a gang task force, you're in a narcotics task force, you're in a patrol group, you have a sergeant, a corporal, a number of officers. This is why in-service training is so important. This is why getting together at the range or in a mat room and practicing these sorts of things out, so that it isn't the first time you've done a rep, that time isn't in the field, is what I'm trying to say. This makes my butt pucker, like you read about, John. This proximity of him is way too close. And I think priority of fire isn't just, okay, that guy's in front of me, therefore, he has priority of fire. But like, let's just think, hey, do I need to be shooting right now? Are there already one or two officers ahead of me doing this? And if that's the case, maybe reconsider getting in there at all.
Yeah, I mean, do I need to be firing right now is really the thing, right? And if I've got problems in front of me, the answer to that is no. Now, okay, so we get in here, and of course, we got to talk a little bit here about the number of rounds fired, because I'm sure some people are going to ask about that. There definitely was a volley there at the end. But, as we watched this last one, I think he was still moving. And part of that is, I think, we kind of expect a 5.56 to the head to just kind of end the fight instantly. But, I think maybe at this distance, I'm not sure, but maybe, there's a good 2.5, 3 inches of offset. And maybe the officer aimed it at the spot rather than thinking about his offset. And I don't think the guy was done yet.
Yeah, I was fully expecting when you talked to me about what happened in this video, when it came to the part where he actually was shot with a rifle round, I was expecting off switch, he falls to the ground lifeless and limp or whatever, but that's not what happened. This goes to show you, officers and deputies, expect the unexpected. They probably all knew that officer was there with the M4 or the AR or whatever, and figured this was coming at some point. You can see it takes them a second after he falls. It takes them a second to realize, okay, that just happened. and now we need to move in. It was a good second and a half, which is, again, you talk about human performance. That's what that is. It takes your brain a second to orient itself to what's happening. So in this case, they did get in there. Did they fire a few too many rounds? Yeah, probably. Was he still moving? This is a tough one because right now your brain's trying to register and process all the things that are happening in this moment. I think if you look, generally speaking, he stopped firing when the guy stopped moving. I don't know if they knew where the gun was at this point. I mean, he could have had a gun in his other hand. It's tough to say, but I think they did absolutely what they had to do in that moment, John.
I agree. I think, you know, you got to stop eventually. And they did stop eventually. And I don't think anything that they were doing was punitive or was egregious or whatever. When the guy finally stopped moving, they stopped shooting at him. My guess is that the headshot was going to prove fatal regardless. But man, at the end of the day, I really think these officers, you know, we have a few things to say about maybe little technique things or whatever, but brave officers who got in there, protected their community, saved a hostage, and covered their ass.